the water bottle.
The Pisces.
Yeah, the Pisces and Aries, isn't that crazy? It's just like there it is showing up, you know? Um, amazing, amazing. So what were you saying?
Well, I feel like you were talking about your day or something. You were like, "Oh, I did a lot today. I've been drinking espresso." And it seemed like well, you did. You mentioned like, "Oh, the Aries, I'm feeling it."
I'm definitely feeling the Aries energy and the new moon energy. I mean, so we're gathering here, like kind of at this new moon right now in Pisces, which is such a special new moon because it's kind of the last new moon that we're going to have in Pisces. Um, because next year, when we have a new moon in Pisces, it's not going to have the North Node in there anymore. It's not going to have Saturn in there anymore. It's not going to have Neptune in there anymore. You know, was there for 14 years, so that's a big deal, right? And so it's kind of like a closing of a lot of the kinds of energies that we've been used to feeling in the Pisces vibe, new moon vibe. So
You
right
saying
now
that and then seeing the candle, it feels almost like a vigil for the Pisces era.
it is. There we go. Holding space. Yeah, so, and then it's exciting because, in like they say like some 36 hours or something, we're moving into the spring equinox out of the Pisces new moon is just like boom, right there. What was it, like 20 something degrees, 20 late 20s, late 20 degrees, 28, I think. I don't know. I should.
I have a big question, and you don't have to know all the answer, but I'm curious, like since we are moving into this new era with the Aries, I'm wondering A, what vibe or impression you're getting with it, and then also um yeah, so that could mix what you do know in terms of the astrology ahead, but also what are you feeling? What are you even seeing ahead of you?
Well, I mean, as an honorary Aries myself, I'm definitely feeling the personal spring up and the kick in and like a lot of new visions for my health, my Aries body. I want to, today I was like, okay, I'm having espresso, but I don't want any carbs. I want to kind of get back to like a certain type of feel in my own body, a certain fit level. I feel like my Pisces watery, blobby, like I'm just like done with that. I'm done, and I want to roar and I want to like work out. And so I woke up today and I've been waking up early. You know me, I sleep late, so very late, right? And I've just been like waking up early and just like ding, and I'm feeling that fire like lift up in me. So I'm definitely feeling that, just personally, and even here's my little doggie with me, and she's licking her toes, right, her little Pisces feet, and she's the little Aries doggy, because Mars is cars and dogs is how I learned it. And so it's like that all of a sudden, I mean, we struggled so much, Mercury in retrograde, just to get this going on, right? For our first like practice and our new moon coming together and farewell Pisces vibe and practicing
Yeah.
Aries energy. And all of a sudden, like right as we finally dialed it in, boink, boink, here comes Daisy chewing on her toenails and Pisces feet and showing up for the sign, showing up with us here. So
Yeah,
oh
what that
wow.
makes me think of is you know, we could have easily given up. We could have easily been like, we're gonna do this a different, we're planning on talking again on Friday. We don't have to do it now. We could have easily given up, but we persevered. And I feel like that is also something that's coming through is like, um, it's not just starting this because as a fellow Aries sun, and I'm a Aries Mercury. I get a lot of excitement out of novelty and new things, and I get super lit up. I mean, I just get really excited. But it's about the consistency and follow through, even in the face of the challenge. And I think that's going to be a theme of Saturn and Aries, is you have to keep going, even when the spark is not there.
Right, good point. And a lot of our teachers, a lot of my teachers are talking about, the Saturn really dampens the lights in general, and Aries is so reminiscent of that pioneering spirit and that uplift and that keeping going and that martyr and that light itself
Right.
of the sun, which exalts in Aries. And this Aries represents the spring equinox and just the dawn of every day. And it's like, yeah, good point. Just like calling it out in the moment. I love to talk about how the transits are literally playing out in the moment. And so let me just run with that to say that um, my business partner who shows up every day and he's lately been getting here like super late at night to do the thing that he does is, or my old business, whatever his, he just like, he's a Scorpio rising, right? Mars is cars and boom, he just shows right up. Just like right now, he's walking into the other room, but like just, and he's got his sun and his Saturn together. So here's another Saturn sun concept, right as you're talking about Saturn, going into Aries. And then here comes the business partner, and we're struggling but persevering through this Mercury retrograde, Saturn and Aries. We're going to make this video work. We're going to get our little faces, our little Aries horns showing. It's just like every moment, puppy shows up. Every moment it's like you can really just see the aspects playing out. That's like my favorite game to play. Thank you for bringing that up. You know what I mean? And it's just like, even as you brought it up, it just like went round whole, even brought in another person from the outside showing up in his Mars's cars truck, his black truck, Saturn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, um, just thought I'd
And
mention.
there's a lot of trucks that are from the Ram brand, the Ram car brand.
Yes. And his is not a Ram one, but a lot of times when I'm
That
like
would
driving,
be freaking hilarious if it was.
it would be. But he loves his Toyotas. Hi there. Frank's there. I'm doing a video right now. Okay. Frank the Tank, you
Frank
know,
the freaking tank.
Frank the Tank, Mars's cars. He's a Scorpio rising, I just said, but it's just amazing um, just to watch it unfurl, and it's this right there all the time. My favorite game to play with astrology is like how it's just popping out in the moment. It never stops. And that's the thing, is like, this is why I would want everybody to become an astrologer so that they can qualify the dimensions and time and space if and like orchestrate things so that it will pop out in line with nature in the right time, or at least get the silver lining.
Well, yeah, I feel that too. And, I was listening to some new moon and Pisces videos, and some of them had something novel to say, and some of them I kind of felt like they're not really saying anything. Like, something I don't like in astrology is how, yes, it's useful to have kind of like a framework about things, but sometimes things get regurgitated in a way where it's like it's not fresh. It just feels like the same thing, the same message. And to me, that is very uninspiring. And um, I really do believe that astrology can be very alive in the moment. But yeah, it's something, the way I'm starting to think about it. So I'm currently reading the second like series of the Golden Compass. And in it, Lyra is 20 years old and she has, according to her daemon, she has lost her imagination. She's taking things more literally. She's like revering these philosophers who say that imagination isn't real. And her daemon, which is the representation of her soul and her heart, he is just pissed at her about this. He is like, "What is wrong with you? This is so not true." And so the plot driver is that he is going to go and find her imagination. And so she's trying to go and find him. And on the journey, she meets different people who have relationship to what we know as like the fairy realm, and they call it the secret commonwealth. And one of the guys who's telling her about it, because she's like, "Oh, that stuff doesn't exist, it's not real." And he's like, "You can't like try to look for it. You can't like look at it in this really direct way where you're gonna find it and see it. You have to kind of listen for it and feel it in a different way. It's not that you're trying to necessarily grab it and hold it and see it." And she relates what he said about that kind of way of seeing the secret commonwealth to reading if I'm pronouncing it right, the Althiometer, the golden compass, where with the golden compass, you ask a question and you move the dials and then it'll spin. And when she was a child, she could read it very deeply. Like it all just came to her supernaturally. And she knew exactly what it meant. And it's just like symbols. It's not any words or anything. And I feel like astrology is this golden compass. You know, it is, I believe it is a compass, but like you said, it's also a clock. And we are doing our best to read it, but we're like sometimes I feel like astrologers can be like Lyra as the 20-year-old who is like, oh, I have to reference all these books in order to understand it. And I take it more literally or however she does. And she's learning to reconnect to that other way of seeing things, the secret commonwealth, not in this direct, but almost a sideways way that is more relaxed, where her child self could just easily drop in and receive it and see it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that book. Was that the first book you're referring to? Oh,
So, there's like the Golden Compass and then the second book and the third book. And then several years later, he made more books. And the first book in that new series, it's called The Book of Dust, is like before she grows up. It's like prequel to the Golden Compass, and she's like a baby. And then the second book, she is 20 years old. So it's kind of like his next group of series for that same universe. He like made a prequel, and then he made after the Golden Compass series. He kind of like filled in both sides.
great. Man, those are so good. I haven't read the fourth one yet. Yeah, I feel
Oh,
like that
no, there's a fourth one.
that did you just said the fourth one was the prequel,
Oh, yes.
right? So I do. It's like, in astrology, we know that it's, kind of like a calendar and a clock and a map. Um, so it's amazing. And learning how to read astrology helps you to recognize the multiple dimensions that you're living in at one time and helps you to qualify eternity, simultaneous reality in the now. You know, I love and like the past and the future. Well, there is no past and future. It's everything is now. But what we see along this linear road, we see a past and a future. Why? You know. Anyways, I love those books too, and it does. It feels very much like it's about astrology. And of course, almost seems like every single thing is kind of about astrology, really. It's like the master language. All other languages kind of telling you how the dimensional reality works, how consciousness works, how things are built, what the pi proportion is, just how anything comes to be or works, from like how you're manifesting to even how like a computer or a phone or a car, just objects work. So it's something that you can sit around and ponder all day long. And imagination, the dreamy liminal space of Pisces, the Omega, so important. And I guess in some ways we all, like when we're children, we know. I feel like we're all astrologers, that a lot of us just until until you don't really know. Astrology is the thing that helps you kind of qualify time and space and what you are and what others are within it. And once you start to understand that, you know, uh, you don't really understand what is even, what even is, to kind of make that comparison or draw that reality. So yeah, I was just kind of referring to the imagination vibe. And Lyra lost it and thought it wasn't there. And it's sort of like how we all have to kind of re-find ourselves. And
Yes.
this master language of astrology kind of really is the thing that helps you to kind of re-find yourself, especially after trauma. I mean, just even birth trauma, we forget. Let alone being traumatized by a system of oppression, like anyways, from crappy entertainment. That's trauma.
But we're also inducted into this world um of dissociation. Like to comply in this world, we're expected to sever something very deep and real in ourselves, and that's our connection to our heart and our true feelings. And on top of not having kind of a culture that both respects feelings and then knows how to emotionally regulate, we have so many versions of emotional dysregulation and all the uh, bad coping mechanisms that we take as proof of our identity. And I think what was so radical about astrology for me when I found it when um I was aware of it, but I didn't know like the whole wheel with the moon and everything. I found it when I was 18 and I moved to college, and so I was in a new environment. I didn't know anybody and I felt really alone, and I became very aware of like, who am I? I really am not sure who I am. Like, yes, there are things I've done and I feel I have something special in me, and yet why can't I access it? Like there's just something missing. And astrology gave me this language and this lens into myself I had never experienced. And it's so beautiful. Like just reading a report about yourself, it's like so much stuff about you. Like we are kind of starved on our self-love and all the parts of us that are worth contemplating. And I don't mean that to sound overly solipsistic, but like it's important to have this relationship to yourself because we are divinity. And, astrology is not just about praising you, it also shows you your weaknesses, but it does it in a way that frames it as something you're growing towards. And uh, that growth through a challenge is the expression of our divinity. And that's why astrology is so cool to me because it brings alive our connection to our plan, to our purpose that we all feel like we have. And then it also gives you the tools to move through the challenge, which actually is where our greatness comes out.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. I mean, if I had one mission, it would be that everybody in the world understood astrology, give them the tools to focus on exactly what you're talking about. There's a difference between being obsessed and narcissistic and lost to the world and being centered in yourself so that you can see and dance with reflections through your own beautiful balance, health, healing, and what's coming at you. And instead of get completely lost by it. And that's, and sent into trauma or manipulated, taken advantage of, these kinds of things. It's like that's the beauty of astrology. And that's why, it's like my mission, if I had a mission, it would be to make sure that it gets out to the world. Go ahead.
No, please share your mission. I got
That,
excited. There's something I'm going to share, but please
no,
continue.
that I finished. Just that it would getting astrology out to the world is probably one of the most ultimate things that could happen. Instead of being poo-pooed, oh, that's fantasy. Oh, that's entertainment. Oh, that's not true. Oh, that isn't science or something, or that divination isn't reality. So that's just what I was saying, that I would love to get it out and reframed into the context so that everybody could really have an impactful life and not and get and alleviate the suffering. Because even if you're suffering, knowing that you're suffering, knowing why you're suffering helps you flip flip the lens on the suffering, and all of a sudden it's not even suffering anymore because you're held and cradled and you're not isolated and alone. You're not traumatized. You're like, okay, I'm going through this thing, but I have tools, and lo and behold, I can transmute my suffering and become back into my authorship. But what were you going to say?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with everything you just said, and I love your mission. I think that's beautiful. And what I was gonna say was for me, sometimes I meet people that I knew growing up, and so I see them, after this period of like being in the adult world, all this stuff. And I just noticed a kind of calcification that seems to happen to people. If they lose connection to this creativity, to this belief in something higher and bigger, that's not just religious, because religious is very much like, here's a rule book that you follow. But to me, astrology is so much more Gnostic. It's all about the experience. How can I be aware of what I am experiencing and notice how I am a part of a pattern because our brains are wired to see patterns. We're experts at seeing patterns, and it's really fun for us to construct meaning and see the connection between things. And astrology is such a great framework to do that and build meaning into your life. I just love how it acknowledges both nature and it also acknowledges our organic nature. We are nature. We have rhythms and cycles, and unfortunately, our industrialized world, our mechanical world wants to treat us like robots. And so we're calcifying because we're trying to adapt to being robotic, but we're not. We're organic creatures connected to divinity.
Exactly. And I just want to like play on your words of being organic and also the concretization or the calcification, like you were saying. And I want to talk about how I love that those things both exist and that they're a part of the polarity. Just like, and it brings to mind the leaf, breaking through the concrete and growing anyway. And that how that's another thing that can be
Yes,
facilitated.
that's so beautiful.
Right. Through the astrology, it helps you to rectify polar opposites. And honestly, astrology really is like every time you turn around, every single every single thing is about the duality and the polarization. From the rotating to the counter rotating primary secondary motion, rotating counter rotating fields, um north node south node, Saturn being opposite the lights. It's just like having a detriment, a planet being in its domicile and then being in its opposite state, or its exaltation, and the fall is the opposite state. I mean, there is literally, it's all of it is about us and them, me and you, this and that, yin and yang, diurnal, nocturnal, over and over again. So the leaf and the concrete, it's okay. And there is a place for everything in this world.
And you know what people always say? You know what people always say? They always say this. They always say nature will win. They always say that. And we're forgetting we are nature, okay? This shit that is imposed on us, that tries to make us into robots, tries to calcify us, tries to put the concrete and cement over us, it is not permanent. We know those things are not permanent. We know they can break. Nature wins. People believe that.
And that's why they are tools. And whether it's a tool or it's a conscious sentient being, everything deserves to be respected for what it is. And that's another thing about it. It's like we don't have to hate on the concrete. We don't have to hate on, and we don't. And that's the point. We don't have to hate on anything. We just have to recognize what it's good for and how to respect it. Period. Bottom line, everything deserves to be respected. Don't slam the damn door. Shut it. Don't throw your phone because you're pissed. Chill out. Like don't narcissistically use and abuse people and throw them out. Have some respect. And it's okay that we have structures and buildings and things that are man-made. Let them be tools, but don't worship them, I suppose. And that's knowing the difference is, I feel like, another thing that astrology just really helps us to do. reconcile these opposites and use them for what they're good for.
And that's the same sentiment for the planets too. You know, these rulers in the sky, you know, the astrologers I like, they often say something like, I'm telling you this not so you can be scared about the future, but so you can you can adapt to the energy, so you can be aware of what's going on, and so you can plan accordingly. And we use that logic all the time. Like that's why we have the weather app, is so you know if it's going to rain on the weekend that you plan your birthday party, you know? So why wouldn't we do something similar for our lives, the blueprint for our lives, the energy that in this language that actually refers to life on this dimension?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And how to pick through like this dimension and the multiple dimensions that are connected to it, recognize when they're shuffling through, how to integrate them, you know. Don't drive over the pothole, go around it, identify it, and how to make miracles. Like really, like, all of these whole this isn't the all of these I gotta itch my nose a million times because it's like allergy season in my backyard since I just mowed the lawn. Oh yeah. But anyways, the fresh cut grass. Anyways, so excuse me from like massive nose itching here. But um oh, watch me just derail whatever it was I was gonna say. Shoots. Um,
We were talking about avoid the pothole, talking about the planets, like even
yeah,
negative planets are
I
teach you
thank you.
something.
Thank you for helping me get back on track. It's that all of these holy books that none of us we believe we should be able to be miracles, make magic, connect with divinity and heal. I mean, I feel like healing, literally using your mind to create something that's happening right then and there, the telepathy, love it. And then healing, proof is in the pudding. Those are kind of like the penultimate, like, and making miracles. Those are the ultimate things. And we all kind of believe in it. We sometimes will like relegate it to religion or spirituality. But the fact of the matter is, those are our birthrights. Those are our natural states of being. And I mean, honestly, like it's a miracle that we're alive right now. Just
Yeah.
to stay embodied against all these solar forces, it's a miracle. But we just take that for granted so much. We don't recognize this great divine, you know, autopilot that keeps us alive, right? Our little egos chattering away. Why don't we have this? Why don't I have that? I don't like this, that, whatever. I want that. We sometimes bypass this magical, natural miracle that we are. And we're like, oh, it's not true. It's like where we feel like, yes, there is this holy sentiment of these magical pinnacles that we can meet, but oh, it's not really, we can't attain that or grasp that. So maybe miracles are for other people, not for us. But that's another thing about astrology. It shows you how multiplicity works, how multidimensionality works, and how the miracle of you is actually the constant state of being. And to tone yourself to that, you know, is the language of astrology, the language of light. We're actually light, you know, we're
Yeah,
light,
it's
even
true.
beings. And so coming to understand that through the language of light is literally the thing that helps you do the thing that is written about in the holy books, to recognize your holy divinity without losing track of the fact that you're going to die and you pooped, this morning and a couple hours ago, whatever. You have to eat, and that's, I mean, that's like the lotus petal philosophy, it's in the mud, right? And this gorgeous lotus flower is blooming out of the mud. And that, you know, I guess in like we were made of clay, these kinds of concepts, these kinds of metaphors, they're now. They are now. And when we get pushed against a wall and we trip up and we fall or we lose track, one of my teachers say, lose the plot. We lost the plot. Um, you know, when we're in that state of losing the plot, and not being able to get back on it, then all of a sudden our brains are turned off and we forget that we're divinity, and we forget that we just need to tweak the nuances and switch up our mind and start using our heart and kind of create change in those ways with our attitude shift. And then once we get into that gratitude attitude and that shift, then all of a sudden everything loosens up and we start growing again and healing. And I feel like astrology is the thing that teaches us that this is the way, this is the everyday, this is what you're doing. And if you lost the plot and you fell back, just go to your roots of um, physics roots on some levels, and flip your own switches and bring your circuit back around and find the divinity and marry the sun and the moon is one of the things that I always say. I'm going to marry the sun and get back the natural power that's already surging through you. If you really lost the plot and you really couldn't do it, you'd be dead as a doornail. If you have life, you have healing ability, you have the power that it takes. And I think a lot of us forget that. And that's another reason for why astrology is so amazing and miracle, and why I wish that everybody knew it. I feel like it'd be a golden age again, if everybody knew these things, which
Yeah.
is why it's important to keep it subversive, pushed it down.
Yeah, it's true. And I feel like the success anyone really has with something, like people notice other people who are doing well. And basically people will be like, if they're in a position in which they're not enjoying their life, they're feeling stuck, that is the exact moment they're open enough to another way of being. And so that's why the proof is in the pudding. It's like if you can enjoy your life and you can experience what you wish to experience um, based on the guidance of astrology. And to me, it's not just astrology, there's so much wisdom that comes off of it that is related to it too, like not even like directly or explicitly, but it it relates to this language, like you said, and uh it does connect us to that more mystical realm.
Right. It's like the language for it. I mean, we cannot get confused to think that the astrology is the end all be all. The astrology is the thing. It's not. The astrology is the language so that we can write the book of life, so that we can remember the principles of counter rotating fields that move through one another to pop out this third dimension that fish or the vesica piscis flips out to the trifecta, the Jupiter, the going big, the manifesting it all. It's the language of that. It's the proof of it. It's the language of it. But it is not, like, clearly it's not the end all be all. It's just that studying astrology and making that the frame of reference that you allow guide you is what puts you into touch with your interdimensional ability to recognize that you're actually creating reality, that
Yeah.
you're actually doing that,
So
that you're
I want to move to the chart. I would love to look at the chart and incorporate it because I feel like we're talking so much about these bigger, broader themes of astrology, which is like the Mercury in Pisces, but it's also conjunct the North Node and Mars, a bigger desire. We're both hungry for it. We want more of it, and we're talking it into existence. Yeah, so if you'll pull up the chart, please.
oh yeah, let's see if I can share the screen. It's the astro.com, the Astrodienst.
Perfect.
um Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to switch over a little bit. Can you still see me right now?
Yeah, I see at the top.
Okay, cool, just curious. And then you can see the chart. So right now, the new moon, let's see, let's put these glasses on. I love our bangs and our clear glasses. I think that's so hilarious. We got that dialed in, don't we?
We got the Aries, the bangs, and the glasses.
And the Capricorn in the big three. Love that. And the Cardinal girls. I was thinking about how cardinal we are. I'm sure that this is going to actually continue on. I was like, are we going to let this drop off? No, we're not. This is our thing now. What's up? At least, well, you've already been doing this on the new moons, and your channel is so awesome, and you're such an incredible astrologer. I just want to take a second to say I'm so grateful that we're doing this, and I'm so grateful for you. And I love, I love your voice. I love your vision. I love you. I love your your astrology skills, and yeah, and this is super fun. Your channel's awesome. You've been putting out all of these charts for months and months and months now, and it's you're such an inspiration. And so I'm feeling pretty sure that our little goal of doing a show every time the sun ingresses into another sign is going to just really follow through, because we're like aligning on our Aries and our Capricorn energy, and we've got our bangs and our clear glasses. So we got this. Yeah. Anyway,
We got this.
we got this. So we got also like
Well,
our
thank you,
new
Molly. I love all that, and I really appreciate that from you, and I feel the same way towards you.
sweet. We got this. Okay, so go ahead. You want to start talking about the new moon in Pisces?
Um, I think what's kind of hilarious about this, and this is what I love about Pisces, is I feel like Pisces is very silly, or at least when I encounter people who have Pisces placements, I feel like they just have this bigger perspective. They have the ability to just have a bigger perspective. And so because of that, they see the humor in things. And I feel, so I'm a Pisces Venus, Pisces Jupiter, and it's sextiles my moon. So I feel like I'm a very kind of I orient towards like amusement. Like I find life to be very amusing in like the Piscean ways of just kind of being amazed how things connect in ways you don't expect, and that's amusing. And so the thing I think about first is just it's amusing to me. You passed the baton on to me. We just spent all these minutes talking about astrology is going to show you the way, man. And I look at this and I'm just like, that's a lot of shit right there.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. And everything's getting, ready to move off into Aries too. So there's just so much movement in the chart right now. And
But
so
it's also so easy to look at this chart and be like, how does this connect to this embodied thing? How does how are these symbols creating this feeling of this world that we're connected to?
right. It's kind of just sort of showing you what's going on in the sky from the perspective of from the tropical perspective. And one of the things that we know about Pisces is that it's the omega. And so it ends the cycle. And the new moon is like kind of like sets the tone for the month, you know. So we see, and we know of Pisces as the omega. One of the ways that I like to think of the Pisces is that it ends as the omega, it ends into the new beginning, and that it's like a butterfly. And so a lot of things have been ending, a lot of cycles have been ending. We understand that um, from all of the changes. It's like we're now getting ready to have like all of the outer planets have shifted. The nodes went back over the world point, and everything's kind of wrapping up in the omega. A lot of ending has been going on. I mean, it started with the great conjunctions in 2020, kind of moving into out of 200 years worth of earth signs into now air signs, right? That was a big change for the next 200 years. And then all the outer planets have changed into new signs. That's a big deal. Neptune is finally out of Pisces after 14 years. Um, and then beginning a new cycle, right? And then Pluto just recently, and what was it, 23-ish or something like that? Pluto finally got out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, where it's going to be for like 20 years, and um, so, and then, Uranus has already went over into Gemini, went back into Taurus, and is getting ready to go back into Gemini. So it's right there at at the 28, the anaretic degrees. And so it's like, we know that all of these big changes are happening in that way, and then, so we see like the ending, a lot of cycles have ended to begin. And it's like, after this point, like it's kind of a big deal, because next time, like I was listening to about from Adam was saying, Adam Ellenboss, um one of my teachers, he was really pointing out, is like, this is the last new moon that we're going to have in the omega point of Pisces, that Neptune's not going to be there anymore, Saturn's not going to be there anymore. And then after this new moon, and the sun's going to move into Aries, and then we're going to have a full moon in Aries, the moon's going to be there, and by that time, probably, Mercury and Mars. Actually, I don't know. I don't think that they're actually going to be there for the full moon, um, but either way, it's all coming to an end. It's like this omega energy is gone. That all the outer planets. I mean, we're still waiting on Uranus, but that's like happening, I think, in April. Where are my notes? Forgive me, right? But it's like, all of the outer planets have changed. The nodes have gone back over the world point. This is the final new moon in Pisces from the omega point to start over in Aries. Neptune's now there, Saturn's now there, and pretty soon everything is going to be there, and the
Yeah.
nodes are going to be out of Pisces into the next sign. We already had the first preview eclipses of the nodes being, and the eclipses happening, nodes, eclipses, same thing, happening in Aquarius, and where Pluto is, Aquarius and Leo. So it's like, yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that is like, I mean, this type of a beginning point is something that we were all born, now we're going to interface with at one point in time. This is huge.
Yeah, I
Huge.
feel like people will look back at 2026 and be like, that was a turning point. That was a major turning point that things changed in a big way. And of course, we can look at 2020 in that way, but I think there's just going to be something different in terms of, especially with Neptune conjunct Saturn and being in Aries, and also those two planets are conjunct the new moon and the sun. And I think, there's all this emphasis. I feel like people are waking up from, Pisces, like the illusion or this bigger, grandiose idea of technology and, um, how technology will save us, technology will extend our lives. But the truth is, we are coming back to our organic technology. Like our bodies are a technology, and people want authenticity. They want what is real, not just in their their relationships, not just in, with the content they see online. They don't want the AI slop. They want authenticity in their work. They want integrity in their work. They want authenticity and wellness and integrity in the food they eat, the homes they live. Like we've had such a, the last 20 years with the rise of the internet has it's created these two waves, I feel, like one that is super polarized and is just completely stuck in terms of being reactionary and feeding off of that. And then the other side that, um, or, sometimes you can be in both, that sees how connected and similar we all are. And I, I feel that people, are wisening up to what they really want in this lifetime because um we've had this kind of cycle with like the Great Depression and then the World Wars and then what happened? Oh, America had prosperity, what is thought of as like our golden age. You can get a job and you can have a family and live off that job and you can have a white picket fence. People think about that time as not only like both and right, they think of it as things were possible. This was what cemented the American dream. And yet that was just a really short period of time. And then even right after that, you see the 60s come and there's all this like innovation and newness, and people are talking in different ways. They still want to grow through it. And um, I'm saying all this that like we have this idea, this illusion of like this one way of living in America, or even it's kind of like pushed down our throats, like this is the ideal way. But what we're really learning is the ideal way to live is your authentic, unique way.
Right, the simple organic way, and there that polarization, especially with Pluto going into Aquarius, right? And it's like, is it going to be like the Borg techno, getting like implants, becoming robotic, getting, you know, bioteching yourself, or are we going back to um, our roots, farm to table and organic care? Like these two juxtapositions really are there. It feels like the luxury elite branding really, because everything is getting so techno, AI, and robotic. And that's becoming the norm or the mainstream of what's pushed.
Right.
That
And
means,
people are projecting that the job market as we know it today could look entirely different in just a couple of years. You know, that's massive change.
oh yeah, it is. It is.
Another thing that's really interesting is that I looked at it made me think about like that concept of okay, AI could really disrupt people working, and it made me wonder, why did the Great Depression start? Because I couldn't really remember. I mean, I've heard the story of like the stock market crashed, but what were the factors that led up to it? Well, the factors that led up to it were one that people were they were just spending less money, um and they were seeing that um yeah, people were the so it brought down aggregate demand. And so that with less demand, then the price also will go down in order to drive up demand. So people they weren't buying as much stuff, and I'm not exactly sure why, but they weren't buying as much stuff, and so that had a huge effect, and that also was happening on like an industrial level. And then on top of that, there was bank panic where people were starting to worry that they couldn't have their money, and so they wanted to pull it out of the banks. And so the banks started getting like they started losing all their money. And, you know, in a similar kind of way, well, no, different, but basically the banks um they couldn't give everyone their money because that's not how, you know, a bank works. A bank makes money off of the money that it holds for you. And so if everyone wants their money at the same time, it actually doesn't even have all that money because it's given it out in loans. And so
Right.
people were scared of banks, that they couldn't get their money. And this is also when the US went off of the gold standard. So the dollar devalued during the Great Depression. And you know what we're seeing right now is we're seeing inflation, but we are experiencing a devaluation in the dollar as well. So, um, the way that we experience it is that our spending power right now is less powerful. People quite literally are, you know, spending less. But the thing that's different is that there are both subtle ways to get us to continue to spend, like subscriptions. And then also, because of social media, we also are advertised to more continuously than could happen during like the th 20s and 30s.
Right.
So
So
we can be artificially made to continue to spend to kind of stimulate the market, even though what do people have? They have debt. They have to use credit, but people are feeling the constraints of the cost of living going up, rising prices, and people are spending less money. Like colleges are changing because less people are going to college or they're talking differently about it. Um, so yeah, I feel like we're gonna see a similar pullback just because people are feeling like these things aren't real. It's not giving me value to spend my money on it.
So what I'm hearing you talk about is something that a lot of astrologers have been talking about with these outer planet movements, like the big wars that come every time Uranus goes into Gemini. Those are repeating. It's happening again. These wars are coming up, like how when Saturn and Neptune come together, which they are right now, like the Berlin Wall fell and the Civil War happened, and I think that was right. And then um, and then Pluto going into Aquarius. Now we're on the digital dollar and AI, and all the jobs are falling away, and the value of um, the dollar is going down, as well as jobs are going down, as and in the Sibley chart, which is the United States chart, Pluto return is a big deal. Pluto power struggle and like big subterranean pushes at the cost of balance and health. Things can die, like big power struggles, shit blows up, things blow up. So a lot of the wars, a lot of like the Saturn. I was just listening to Chris and kind of reviewing the astrology of the year, and Chris and Austin from the astrology podcast talking about like when Saturn and Neptune come together, big systems that seem like they were always there and are really strong, they just sort of dissolve away, and that's kind of happening right now again. And that's, I hear that you're referring to multiple wars and stages in that we've gone through in America and in other stages and globally. And that's what's so interesting about these outer planet shifts, is like bringing back a lot of these repetitive wars or these repetitive themes. And these big outer planets represent the outer world that we're just steeped in. So I'm hearing you talk about those things and like, yep, there it is. We see that.
It's true. And what's different is that we have access to a lot of information, both like different ways of understanding the world, having different forms of knowledge. We also have lots of connection. We have globalization. We truly feel and experience that. And so we have a bigger ability to imagine life for someone in a different part of the world and feel connected to people in a way. And so there's something really special about that, but it's been hijacked in a way to um, like highlight our differences as major problems. And then it's also been hijacked for consumerism. And consumerism exists and works on you feeling insecure and you feeling like things aren't working. That's why you buy this course to help you with your job search. That's why you buy this product to help you feel more attractive. We're all driven to spend, for the excess money we have and sometimes people take risks and they'll spend money they don't have in order to feel like they're getting that security.
Right. We've got like back to the chart. We're having all this conversation, right? And the chart's like right here. And it's like also Jupiter, is exalting in Cancer. And that just went direct. It's been in a retrograde for multiple months, like maybe since November or something like that. And it's just kind of like, Cancer represents the community, the family, the home, the hearth, the community, the kin, the tribe. And Jupiter likes to expand and go big. And, so a lot of these things that are going big in the collective, in the culture, and it's just like, but an exaltation is sort of kind of conflated with the concept of maybe it's too much of a good thing. And so, just based on what you were saying, kind of like looking at the don't believe the hype of it, or just sort of like the,
Mm.
really all that it's like, it's not necessarily really all that it should.
Yeah.
And it's still a bit delusional. And Jupiter, it's like higher law. You can't fight Jupiter. It's like, I mean, you can, right? But Jupiter could gaslight you in a second. You know what I mean? Because Jupiter knows all the higher law and wants to expand and has a lot of power. And Jupiter, if Jupiter wants to trick you and dupe you, good freaking luck. You better be on your ball. You better be at Jupiter's level in order to, push back against that. And it's just like, and Cancer being ruled by the moon, it projects the reality. It projects how you feel and projects it out there and as if it's real. And then Jupiter's exalting too much of a big thing in that sign of the community. Go for it.
And you know what? Cancer also rules our home. It rules our territory. Cancer is actually very territorial. I mean, the crab itself, it's where's its damn um it has that skeleton on that its shell is on the outside because it's got to be freaking fierce and it's got those, mighty claws. And so Cancer is intimidating. There are a lot of famous cancers who, we have this perception that Cancer is like all cuddly and sweet and ice cream, but there are many famous cancers who, like, they've been shown, according to vibrational astrology, with
Fierce.
that YouTube channel, David Cochran, he um showed like a example of cancer dominant people, like they had many planets in Cancer. And so his question was, hey, what is, we have this idea of what Cancer is, but what is it really? Like, if we were to look at actual examples with people who have a lot of cancer, what do they turn out to, what's similar between these people? And what he found is that they're territorial. And so some of those people were like gang members. And, you don't think of a gang member as like this sweet, cuddly person, that's some scary shit. But what he found was the common theme with these extreme Cancer people is they care about something. They care about their tribe. They care about where they belong to. What have we seen the United States do? The United States is going to everyone's damn territory. They're like, I want Greenland. I'm going down to Venezuela too. You know what? Let's start a war. It's our place too. It's just like you said, Molly, it's the Jupiter in Cancer can exaggerate and definitely inflate this sense of I can do whatever I want and it's my territory. I got it. It's mine.
Exactly. Gaslight, sociopathic, Jupiter. That's the dark side. Um,
But I can tell you what the light side is like in my experience. So I don't feel like I'm using Jupiter in order to dominate the things in the world around me. Um, the way that I've been experiencing expansion is I feel like I'm doing it right here, but I feel like I've finally done like the amount of research and the amount of work to kind of show up and build the business and the passion that I care about. Like I really do have the expertise. I really do have the skills for it. And I feel um, I've been just carefully building this thing. Um, and I've also expanded my home because I moved in a major way this year. And like I moved to a different state and I'm in, which I hadn't done for my adult life. I hadn't moved to a different state. And so that is a really big Cancer and Jupiter exalted experience. And I feel like I'm expanding. I traveled internationally this year. I haven't done that for many years. And that was a really awesome experience. So I feel like the way that I've expanded my territory has been I've met new people, new communities. I have gone to different places, but it hasn't been about dominating those places. It was about like opening to these new experiences.
yes, I hear you. And it's true, you did. I just turned on my purple lights for Jupiter. It's Jupiter's. So if it just got purpley in here. But yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like these signs, or these energetics, they have a dark side and a light side, you know? Jupiter is expands and is beautiful and is higher law, and artistic. Um, and that's like the good side of it. Oh, just spilled beeswax. And so, it's really all about respect and self-respect and respect. It's like you have respect and self-respect built into the way that you behave, then you're going to be able to um, express evolution and health and healing. And if you're like using your ability to hire law to manipulate people, outsmart them and use them, then there's the dark side of that too. So, but yeah, that's definitely there as well. And that's kind of like another reason, like a lot of times when people are traumatized and hurt in general, their brains are skewed. Our brains are skewed where we're traumatized. That's part of the trauma. And it's like we're not thinking right then. We got our stinking thinking, we've got our justifications, and it's like, how do you get out of that? How do you turn that around? Well, again, the astrology, because, you know, manipulation, domination, all of the things that, hurt people, that's false progress. It's false progress, and being like looking at nuclear power, that's false progress, especially when there's all these other ways to create energy. And so I mean, yeah, we can really see it how it can play out either way. And right now in the chart, it's in a trine formation with the nodes and Mercury. I think I'm seeing these things properly. Just Mars, all of it, it's in a trine formation. And so there's a lot of power to wrap up the old and start new beginnings, and in ways that are evolving the brain. And that's there too. And it's like, in some ways, it's like that's because these powers are so strong in nature. That's why a lot of the system of oppression, they're building the rhetoric in such a way to scare us and keep us small. That way they can dominate our minds, and instead of us being able to take these coordinates and do something beautiful with it and heal. That's what I was saying earlier. That's why it's so important to try the system of oppression, to try to keep us small. It's because it would be a golden age, and we would not be able to be trafficked as much, were we have understood that we could use these coordinates to our healing advantage, to our creativity,
So,
to love.
Molly, you saying that, how would you use these coordinates to your healing?
Well, I would say that this little project that we're starting is huge, huge healing for me. And the fact that it's coming together right now. I've got Jupiter and Pisces too, like you do. And I'm a Cancer moon, you know. And so I've had to Adam was saying, Nightlight Adam Ellenboss, he was talking about the healing, and the turning around of your own hyper critiquing of the South Node in the Virgo energy opposite the Pisces. And I was like, yeah, he's right. Like I've been like holding myself back. I mean, the astrology stuff that I've been working on, and you've joined in on me and like making it, having like physical events and having people there. And that was great. We had a great time. It's been awesome. It's been my one goal. I've been in event production and festival production and bringing people together production, my whole life. Right. And so, but coming through the near death experience and the angel zone and recovering from, injuries and whatever it is, I've gone small. There's a place where I've gone small. Also, not really being as savvy as you are with the techie stuff. Um, not being in the same generation as you, and it's a lot of it has caused me to have, close myself down, and just in these ways, I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this with Hannah. We love it. I've got to stop coming at people all the time with astrology. I need to work with my astrology sister and do something fun. Our rah and our Capricorn, like get a project, and it's like it's, and like I've been doing things in public, like, up and down a lot, or sometimes more than other times, but like I've been really wanting to do something digital and put it out there and have a project and to do and to face and kind of conquer some of these places where I've hyper critiqued myself. You're not good enough. You haven't done it. You haven't tried hard enough. Just self berating, self critiquing, and just deciding, no, I'm going to push through that. Sick of it. I'm bored of holding myself back. Who cares if I'm not perfect? Who cares? This isn't this is practice. What does they say? Imperfect, creative. What is it? Kimmy always says imperfect, creative, consistent action. Imperfect, creative, consistent action. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing here. And
Yeah.
because I've had this passion, like, and I mean, I think I'm not, every astrologer probably thinks this, but our goal is to do this at the ingress of a new sign. And the subject that we're going to be discussing is that sign and everything that goes along with that sign. So, right now is our new moon practice, and we're wrapping up. This new moon is like at the end degrees, also cutting out the old, starting a whole new thing. And in 36 hours from now, we're going to be doing our first, ingress spring equinox, Aries. And what's the subject matter? Aries stuff. We're not going to talk about, you know, Gemini stuff in our Aries season. We're going to focus on, and it's like, so tuning myself to what's actually happening. That's authentic. That's progress. Being authentic, being true, being aligned with the wheelhouses around the year, having consistent, creative, imperfect action that aligns me, you, all of us with the sun. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm going to do with it. And that's what I am doing with it. And that's what I'm so excited about with you and too, and the and I'm also like the south nodes. It's like those are like the past and the future. And I like how we're different generations, you and I. And then also that, how you're having that half nodal return right now. Your past and your future interfacing, and I'm part of it. And I love that. I love that.
You know what's funny, Molly, is that you you pointed out that we have the same haircut and glasses.
I
So
love
that's
it.
another mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyways, how are you? How are you going to take this energy of now? You can't use this example. You have to come up with a new one.
God dang
Good.
it.
Dang it. No, go ahead. Use the same example if you want. Riff on it, but what are you going to do?
Um, so okay, when I was asking the question, I was kind of wondering like, oh, how does this configuration turn to medicine for you? And for me, I guess what immediately comes is it's almost like the medicine is just like reflection. It's like where these coordinates are, they inspire a new question. They inspire reflection on all the topics we just said that connect. And then I'm doing that with you. The Venus in Aries, you are that woman, you are the Venus that I'm talking to at this moment. And what are we doing? We're kind of, I feel like we're closing out this season, this Pisces, we're commemorating it. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, so in a way we're also exalting Jupiter, even though we're able to uh freely talk about the ways it could be too much. But we're also we're also experiencing this as the North Node on that Mercury retrograde, um, just kind of creating something new. Like we're putting something into being that we both feel pushed Mars there too. Like we feel this need to work on it and it's coming through. So yeah, I do feel the healing in that way too. And then when I look at the new moon that is conjunct um, Saturn and Neptune, and then it's sextiling Uranus and Pluto, and it's making a trine between Uranus and Pluto. Um, I appreciate just the gifts that the moment has given me with Uranus. Like for Uranus to be there in this new moon, it is saying something about just allowing this thing to come through. And um Pluto, Pluto, I'm not sure how Pluto works in with that right now, but um
Technology,
hmm?
technology, and we're doing a video.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, that is true. That is true.
And how
And we're
Uranus,
also trying to create a new group here by doing this.
and Uranus is right at the anaretic degrees, getting ready to in Venus's feminine sign, her feminine domicile, her nocturnal domicile, and like Uranus is right at the end, and you're even in green, right? And we're just like, feminine up right now and getting ready to push it over into having a digital like connection for the next year. You can see it's like that as well. I yeah. And also I'm thinking it's interesting about how right now in the chart the south node is dumping out in the first house, Virgo, which is creativity. You're wearing green. So it's like the south node, it's like the past, it's plopping out, and we're in this creative space, and Mercury the communicator rules Virgo, and Gemini pushes the details up, and Virgo connects with them and like categorizes them and library and secretarializes them and teacherizes them and
That's
brings them.
true. That's what we're doing here with the video.
Exactly. So I can see how this chart is like literally, well, is the moment, is the moment too. So we're both like these in the esteem of each other. Venus in the eighth house, the esteem of each other, with the in Aries sign, and we're both Aries, and then Saturn, we're both got this Capricorn in our big three. Neptune is like the diffuse and the psychic, and we're moving through the airwaves, and it's just like digital vibes, too. And that Neptune with Uranus, who's getting ready to like finalize it up in the Taurus, like the tangibility, and click over to the digital vibes again. And Pluto's straight there. Pluto's in the sixth at this moment from our perspective, West Coast vibes. Anyway, yeah, this is super. I think we're going to continue to keep having fun with all of this, don't you?
I do too. And I sense we're kind of closing soon. And so I wonder, the moon phases matter. Like we acknowledge this is a kind of turning over, an ending point. Death is a portal to a new life. And I wonder, what is your intention with this new moon energy?
I am literally living my intention in a million ways. This is like the moment of these intentions. And it's just, and honestly, the business partner coming at this time, that's doing what I wanted. Like, I was like, buy the astrology, do this thing. He's generally like, huh. And so he came and did that. So that intention wrapped up. This intention is wrapping up. And there's multiple other little intentions that have wrapped up that I probably will just like keep to myself. Um, and then preparing for our birthdays, right? And the birthday party that's coming up and how I'm performing for it. And just the photo shoot that I just did, and in the lights, and making art Pisces out of it, and Venus in the sign of her detriment in the lights, and just like having the photo shoot, Jupiter going big in the sign of my moon sign Cancer, again the photo shoot, right? So it's like preparing for my birthday party, and how my dad's showing up again, Saturn in he lives in Texas, where how that wraps up into this conversation too. And so like everything that is my intention is literally already happening. And that's another thing that Adam was saying, and is that a lot of things are already in progress, because this ending cycle has brought pulling so much through with it that it, I don't, not to quote him, never to quote anybody, any of my teachers. I'll just throw that out there. But yeah, he was right. It's sort of like it's already kind of happening. Like I'm literally living these intentions right now. And so, yeah. And what about you? Any intention you want to speak of?
I'm similar to you. I feel a lot of excitement about what is ahead. And so we know that, this is the new moon right now, but it'll take 6 months for the Pisces full moon. And so I'm kind of taking that as, okay, and I am feeling excited about my next 6 months. And yeah, so I'm kind of taking this as a sign of that excitement. Like I'm just coming back. I had a really great weekend. Like the week before I went backpacking and that was a really cool experience being in the nature like that with my boyfriend and his dad. And then after that, I went to a really great event and I went out of town and I had serendipitous, synchronistic connections, which is making me excited about maybe moving there. And then actually, as of today, I called um, a friend of mine, a peer from like my middle school, high school days. I haven't talked to him in years, and he just told me that he just had a child, and it felt really good to talk to him. And I realized, like, talking to him, it's like, you're like, I did so much with him. I played sports with him. Um, you know, we were at the same academic level, so we were in the same classes. He really was my peer. And I realized I'm like, oh, you're like my brother or my cousin. Like I actually just talking to him and I could feel it for him too. It felt like connecting a loop. Like it felt like you say all the time, closing the gap. It felt like that. I feel like, wow, I feel connected to my home in like a fresh new way. And when we ended the call, he's like, hey, let's do this again. Let's keep hearing what's going on because we didn't have a lot of time to talk to each other. And that's fun. That's just like an exciting feeling. It feels like spring, but it feels like there's new possibilities. And that, of course, I am excited for these projects and just showing up with you. So I feel my intention is to savor the excitement, to believe in the dream, believe it's possible, and to show up consistently.
Ah, oh, love it. Yeah, love it too. Well, I could keep going on and on, but it's just probably a great place to segue out. Um, and I feel like I should stop the share. Did it stop?